This video is brought to you by TS4U IT Engineering Bootcamp.
We use the Elasticsearch multiple way. We use with the Kubernetes, we use the without Kubernetes. So we are having some issues. Assuming you are running Elasticsearch and it uses a lot of ports for every application. How do you increase the number of ports and can be used in a Linux machine? So all I want to ask how you actually release some ports so you can actually use those nodes for other application that is needed immediately or something like this. Or have you used something?
Okay, so basically what we basically have a Elasticsearch cluster deployed onto our Kubernetes, okay, that is actually installed with the Helm. Okay, so we install all the components of the Elasticsearch differently. We basically use, let's say, the Fluentd as the EFK, right? So the F stands for the Fluentd. In our case, we can definitely use the Fluentd as well, but we actually chose to go with the Fluentd. So we first install the Elasticsearch with the Helm, and then we install the Fluentd Helm chart, and then we use the Kibana Helm chart. Okay, so together with everything, it just deploys the entire system, and then we just need to change the variables of those specific deployments. Okay, so as per the ports, I only saw the Elasticsearch uses port 9200. Okay, it does not require more than one port. If we only think about the the Elasticsearch database communication port, and Elasticsearch uses some 2 or 3 other ports just to communicate with the system. So what do we do is, since they are running in Kubernetes, we basically don't expose those ports directly. Okay, so the Elasticsearch and the Fluentd, both of them actually runs as a ClusterIP. Okay, so every single pod can actually use the same port on that different ports, because Kubernetes actually isolates the internal ports of every single container or every single pod. So if we have like multiple pods running on the same port, it doesn't matter as long as we don't expose them with the host. Okay, so we in order to solve this issue, in order to don't have this issue, we basically used Elasticsearch as ClusterIP, Fluentd as ClusterIP as well, so that no matter how many pods we get, it will basically have the same port use. We can just go to the Elasticsearch service. We can just write the port 9200, and it will just route us to any of our Elasticsearch pod. So we didn't actually have this kind of issue, but since we used the Grafana, so Grafana actually had one single dashboard only, and for the Elasticsearch, we used the Kibana. Okay, so Kibana actually had a port to expose because it's a dashboard, right? So we need to access it from the outside. So for that, we basically had a NodePort expose for the Kibana, and it only had one port, so we didn't have this kind of port allocation issue. So we just attached our Ingress with the Kibana port and the Grafana port as well to access for our monitoring service and to access our logging service as well. So with one single load balancer, we had 2 different DNS entries to access the Grafana and another one to access the Kibana as well. And Grafana used port 3000 as far as I can remember, and the Kibana uses port 5601 or something. So they literally didn't collide. And as we use the Ingress, it actually eased up our port management and the service management as well. So we actually kind of didn't need to deal with this sort of issues. But I think if we use more nodes, or if we can just change the exposed port numbers just to check that, okay, if these ports are not being used.
I think what happened here, so we have the non-production environment, and we have self-managed cluster. I think not even non-clustered as well. some of the nodes, we have actually the install many application and configure many application. That's the where I think in our cases, some of the node-based application is colliding with the port number. So I think simply, I have a quick follow-up question, maybe silly question. It's a Linux command probably I'm expecting. How can you see number of open ports and the open file?
Oh yeah, it's the Netstat command
Oh.
we can use. We can use the SS command as well. So we have multiple ways to look at the open ports. But in terms of Kubernetes, I would not suggest you to use or expose all of the node applications because it increases the security risk, right? So for that, the application won't collide with each other if we just use them as a cluster IP, and this also secures the application as well. Okay. So for the NodePort, we might have this issue, but as far as I can remember that, okay, NodePort actually has more than 2,500 ports. Okay, so if you don't have more than this kind of services in a cluster, you won't actually run out of ports because from the 30,000
application, yeah, that's a lot.
Yes, so you won't be in this situation if you use the Kubernetes features correctly. So we always try to go under the hood that, okay, if this service doesn't need to be open to the clients, we use it with ClusterIP. We don't even expose it as a NodePort. So we strictly follow this kind of procedure so that we don't actually have this kind of issues.
Understood. I think, yeah. Thank you very much.